The wine glass shattered on marble. 6 men stared at the spreading red liquid like it was blood. In a way, it was their blood, almost spilled because they'd trusted the wrong person. Dominic Calvetti didn't move. His ice-gray eyes locked onto the small waitress who'd just whispered words in a language she shouldn't know. Words that had stopped his heart mid-beat. Un viviu vinu. A velenu. Don't drink the wine. It's poison. Perfect Sicilian. Not the textbook kind Americans learned in classes. Real Sicilian, from the villages, with the accent of the old country that couldn't be faked. Say it again, he commanded, switching to the same dialect. Aria's hands shook so badly she nearly dropped her serving tray. Every instinct screamed at her to run. Instead, she forced herself to meet those cold eyes and repeated, "You sommeliere betrayed you. You vinu e veleno. The sommelier betrayed you. The wine is poison." The room erupted. "Boss, she's crazy," one of the captains started. "Get her out of here," another demanded. But Marco Tesoro, the head sommelier who'd served Dominic faithfully for 6 years, had gone pale. His hand trembled as he set down the wine bottle he'd been holding. "Before we start, make sure to hit like and subscribe, and really I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel." Dominic raised one hand. The room went silent instantly. "Nobody moves," he said in English now, his voice deadly calm. He turned back to Aria, studied her face like he was seeing her for the first time. "How do you know this language?" "My grandmother." Her voice was barely a whisper. "She was from Sicily. Near Palermo." "And the poison?" "I saw him." She glanced at Marco, who was slowly backing toward the door. "I saw him receive bottles that didn't come through normal delivery. He was sweating. Nervous. And the corks, they'd been replaced. Recently." Dominic's jaw tightened. He looked at Marco, who'd frozen halfway to the exit. "Marco." His voice could have cut glass. "Come here." "Boss, I don't know what she's talking about." "Come here." Marco took 3 reluctant steps forward. His forehead was shining with sweat now, his breathing too fast. Dominic picked up one of the other wine glasses, still full of the deep red Brunello. He held it out to Marco. "Drink." "What?" "Boss, I already tasted this batch." "Then you won't mind drinking again." Dominic's smile was pure ice. "Prove she's lying." "Drink." Marco stared at the glass. 5 seconds passed. 10. "I can't," he whispered. "Why not?" "Because she's right." The confession burst out of him like a dam breaking. "The Giordano's paid me $2 million. They wanted you dead. All of you." "I'm sorry, boss, I'm so sorry." He tried to run. Dominic's guards moved faster. 2 of them had Marco on the ground in seconds, his face pressed against the marble next to the wine he'd tried to serve. Dominic stood slowly. Walked to where Marco was being held. And crouched down so they were eye level. "How long have they owned you?" 3 months. "They threatened my sister." "How long?" 6 months, Marco sobbed. 6 months, boss. "I'm sorry." "Please." Dominic stood. Nodded to his guards. They dragged Marco out of the room, his pleas echoing down the hallway until a door slammed and cut them off. Then Dominic turned to Aria. She was still standing there, holding her empty serving tray like a shield, looking like she might pass out. "What's your name?" he asked in Sicilian. "Aria. Aria Delgado." "How long have you worked here, Aria?" 8 months. 8 months. She'd been invisible for 8 months while his trained security, his loyal guards, his trusted inner circle had all missed a traitor in their midst. And this shy waitress who couldn't meet anyone's eyes had saved all their lives. "Come with me," Dominic said. "We need to talk." Dominic's private office was on the 3rd floor, behind 3 locked doors and 2 armed guards. Arya had never been up here. Staff weren't allowed past the kitchen unless specifically summoned, and being summoned usually meant you'd done something wrong. She perched on the edge of a leather chair while Dominic poured himself whiskey from a crystal decanter. "Not wine. Never wine again, probably." "You're a nursing student," he said. It wasn't a question. "Yes." "How did you?" "I know everything about everyone who works in my establishment." He took a sip, watching her over the rim of his glass. "Arya Delgado. 26. Parents died when you were 8. Raised by your Sicilian grandmother, Julia Russo. Currently in your 3rd year at Columbia Nursing School. Work double shifts here to pay tuition. No criminal record. No debts. No connections to any families." She felt her face flush. "You investigated me?" "I investigate everyone." He set down his glass. "What I don't understand is how you noticed what 12 trained soldiers missed." "I pay attention." "Clearly." "Walk me through it." "Everything you saw." So she did. Told him about Marco's behavior changes 3 days ago. The unauthorized delivery. The sweating. The phone checking. The way he'd handled the bottles differently, more carefully, like they contained something precious or dangerous. "The corks gave it away," she finished. "They were new. The bottles were supposed to be from 1995, but those corks couldn't have been more than a few days old. Someone opened them, added something, and resealed them." Dominic leaned back in his chair. "You learned about poisons in nursing school? Toxicology is required. We need to know what to look for, how different substances affect the body." She met his eyes. "I noticed the pattern. I couldn't ignore it. Most people would have ignored it. Stayed out of it. Kept themselves safe. I thought about it." Her hands twisted in her lap. "But you've always been decent to the staff. You tip well. You don't let your men harass us. You fired someone once for grabbing one of the servers." She paused. "You didn't deserve to die like that." Something shifted in his expression. Not quite a smile, but close. "You saved my life tonight, Arya Delgado. I just told you what I saw." In perfect Sicilian. From a village dialect that most people in Sicily don't even speak anymore. He stood, walked to the window overlooking the city. "My grandfather was from Palermo. He taught me that dialect before he died. I haven't heard it spoken properly in 15 years. My Nonna Giulia is very traditional." "Is she alive?" "Your grandmother?" "Yes. She has MS lives in a care facility in Queens." Dominic was quiet for a moment. "Then, I'm going to pay off her care facility bills. All of them. Past, present, and future." Arya shot to her feet. "I don't want your money. It's not about what you want. You saved 6 lives tonight. Mine, and 5 of my most important captains. That's worth more than medical bills." He turned to face her. "I'm also giving you a job." "I have a job. Not as a waitress. As my personal intelligence analyst." She stared at him. "You're what?" "You see things other people miss. Notice patterns. Details. That's valuable in my world." His eyes were intense. I'll pay you 10,000 a week. You'll attend meetings, observe my people, tell me what you see. Nothing more. 10,000 a week. That was more than she made in 3 months at the restaurant. I can't, she whispered. Why not? Because I know what you are. What you do. She forced herself to stay steady. I saved your life because it was the right thing to do. But I don't want to be part of your world. You became part of my world the moment you spoke. His voice was gentle but firm. The Giordano's paid Marco $2 million to kill me. They'll want to know who warned me. How their plan failed. And when they find out about you. The office door burst open. One of Dominic's guards, breathing hard. Boss. We have a problem. The Giordano's know. They're asking about a waitress who speaks Sicilian. Aria's blood turned to ice. Dominic's expression didn't change, but his hand moved to the gun beneath his jacket. How long ago? 10 minutes. They've got people watching the restaurant. Waiting for her to leave. She's not leaving. Dominic looked at Aria. You're staying here. Under my protection. Until this is handled. I need to get to my grandmother. I've already sent men to move her to a secure location. She'll be safe. You can't just. I can. I did. And you don't have a choice anymore, Aria. His voice was steel wrapped in silk. The Giordano's want you dead. The only reason you're still breathing is because you're standing in my building, under my protection. She wanted to argue. Wanted to run. Wanted to wake up from this nightmare. But the guard's expression told her everything she needed to know. She'd saved a mafia boss's life. And now she belonged to him whether she liked it or not. The apartment Dominic gave her was bigger than anywhere she'd ever lived. It was on the 4th floor of his building, directly above his own residence. 2 bedrooms, a full kitchen, floor-to-ceiling windows with bulletproof glass. Furnished with expensive things she was afraid to touch. A prison made of marble and silk. Get some rest, Dominic had said, leaving her with 2 armed guards stationed outside her door. We'll talk in the morning. But Aria couldn't rest. She paced the apartment, checked her phone obsessively for news about her grandmother, and tried to process how her life had exploded in the span of 2 hours. At 2 a.m., there was a knock. She opened the door to find Dominic standing there, alone. He'd changed out of his suit into dark jeans and a black shirt. More human. Less untouchable. Your grandmother is secure, he said. I moved her to a private facility in Westchester. Better care than Queens. Round-the-clock security. Relief hit her so hard she had to grab the doorframe. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. He stepped inside uninvited, and she was too tired to protest. We need to discuss what happens next. You mean after the Giordano's kill me? They're not going to touch you. His voice was absolute certainty. But we need to figure out how you fit into my organization. I don't fit into your organization. I'm a nursing student who just demonstrated skills my trained intelligence officers don't have. He sat on her couch, completely at ease in her space. Let me ask you something. What else have you noticed? About my operation. My people. She shouldn't answer. Shouldn't give him anything more. But the way he was looking at her, like she mattered, like her observations had value, made her throat tight. Your head of security is skimming, she heard herself say. Not much. Maybe 5%. But I've seen him redirect deliveries, adjust inventory counts. Small enough that you wouldn't notice, but consistent. Dominic went very still. Antonio? I don't know his name. Tall guy, scar on his left hand, always wears the gray suit. That's Antonio. He's been with me for 9 years. His jaw was tight. What else? The hostess up front, Gianna. She's feeding information to someone. Takes photos of the reservation book on her phone every night before she leaves. I've watched her do it 6 times. Who is she sending them to? I don't know. But someone wants to know who's meeting with you and when. Dominic pulled out his phone, sent a rapid series of texts. Within seconds, he got responses that made his expression darken. You just identified 2 more security breaches I didn't know about. He looked at her with something like awe. How? How do you see these things? I just pay attention. She sat down across from him, exhausted. In nursing, you have to notice everything. A slight change in skin color. Breathing pattern. The way someone holds their body. Details tell you what's really happening beneath the surface. And you apply that to people's behavior. Everyone has patterns. When the pattern changes, something's wrong. He was quiet for a long moment, studying her like she was a puzzle he needed to solve. I'm going to ask you again, he finally said. Work for me. Officially. Observe my people, my operations, my meetings. Tell me what you see. I'll pay you enough to finish nursing school without working doubles. I'll protect your grandmother. I'll keep you safe from the Giordano's. And in return, I become part of the criminal organization I've spent 8 months trying to avoid. You're already part of it. The moment you spoke Sicilian, you chose a side. His eyes were intense. The question is whether you do this on your terms or mine. Those aren't terms. That's coercion. That's reality. He leaned forward. You have a gift, Arya. You see corruption, betrayal, weakness. In my world, that's worth more than gold. More than loyalty. Because loyalty can be bought, but genuine insight can't be faked. I don't want to see people die because of what I notice. Then help me clean my house before they die. His voice was surprisingly gentle. Help me find the traitors before they betray. The thieves before they steal. The threats before they strike. Be the person who saves lives instead of taking them. She wanted to say no. Wanted to walk away from this man and his dangerous world and go back to being invisible. But she thought about Marco's poison. About the 6 lives she'd saved. About Antonio skimming money and Gianna selling information and how many other threats were hiding in plain sight while everyone else was too busy or too loyal or too afraid to notice. 3 conditions, she said. Dominic raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. 1. I finish nursing school. No matter what happens, I graduate. Agreed. 2. My grandmother gets the best care possible. Not just security. Real medical attention. Already arranged. 3. No killing in front of me. I don't want to see it. Don't want to know about it. I'll tell you what I observe, but what you do with that information is on you, not me. He was quiet, considering. Then he stood, extended his hand. Deal. She stared at his hand. Shaking it would change everything. Would make her complicit. Would tie her to a world she'd spent her whole life avoiding. She took it anyway. His grip was firm, warm, surprisingly gentle. Welcome to the family, Arya Delgado. The first week was a test she hadn't known she was taking. Dominic brought her to meetings. Made her sit in the corner, silent and observing, while he conducted business with suppliers, partners, and people whose roles she didn't want to understand. She watched faces. Body language. The tiny tells that revealed lies, fear, greed, loyalty. And every night, she reported what she'd seen. The guy from Brooklyn, Sal something, he's planning to run. He kept looking at the exits, mentioned his cousin in Florida twice, talked about his daughter's school like it was past tense. Dominic would make a call. Sal would be convinced to stay loyal. No one got hurt, but the message was clear: you couldn't hide from Aria's eyes. Your accountant is embezzling. Small amounts, spread across multiple accounts, but I've seen him adjust numbers on his laptop when he thinks no one's watching. Another call. The accountant was replaced. No drama. Just gone. The new security guy, Renzo. He's working for someone else. He asks too many questions about your schedule. Takes too many bathroom breaks near your office. Renzo disappeared that night. Aria tried not to think about where. By day 7, Dominic's captains looked at her with a mixture of respect and fear. The shy waitress who couldn't meet eyes had become the quiet woman in the corner who saw everything and forgot nothing. It was terrifying. It was also intoxicating. For the first time in her life, people listened when she spoke. Her observations mattered. She had value beyond serving tables or checking blood pressure. She was important. But she was also exhausted. On day 8, she told Dominic she needed a break. I have class tomorrow. Anatomy exam. I need to study. You're going to class? He looked surprised. That was condition 1. I finished nursing school. It's not safe. Then send guards. But I'm going. He studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Fine. But you take Lorenzo and Marcus. They stay with you the entire time. So she went to Columbia with 2 massive armed men trailing her like shadows. Her classmates stared. Her professor raised an eyebrow but said nothing. And Aria tried to focus on muscle groups and bone structures while knowing that outside, 2 men were prepared to kill anyone who looked at her wrong. It was absurd. It was her new normal. After class, she was walking to Dominic's car when someone grabbed her arm. She spun, heart racing. It was just Keisha, her study partner. Girl, what is going on? Who are those guys? Security. It's complicated. Complicated how? Did you win the lottery? Get a stalker? Join the witness protection program? I can't explain. Aria pulled her arm free gently. I'm sorry. I have to go. Aria. But Lorenzo was already steering her toward the car, his hand firm on her back, and Keisha was left standing on the sidewalk looking confused and worried. In the car, Aria leaned her head against the window and tried not to cry. You okay? Lorenzo asked. He was Dominic's head of personal security, built like a tank but surprisingly gentle. I just want my life back. That life almost got you killed. He glanced at her in the rearview mirror. The boss is keeping you safe. That's not nothing. I know. He likes you, you know. She looked up. What? The boss. He likes you. Not just your skills. You. Lorenzo's expression was unreadable. I've worked for him 12 years. Never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you. He barely knows me. He knows you saved his life. Knows you're smart, brave, observant. That's enough for a man like him. The car pulled into the underground garage of Dominic's building. Aria got out, headed for the elevator. Lorenzo caught her arm. One more thing. The Giordano's made a move today. Tried to grab your grandmother from the facility. Her blood froze. Is she? She's fine. Our guys stopped them. But boss wants to see you. Now. She took the elevator to Dominic's floor with her heart in her throat. He was waiting in his office, and when she walked in, she saw it, real fear in his eyes. "They know how much you matter to me," he said quietly. "And they're using that. My grandmother is safe. I've moved her again. Somewhere they'll never find." He crossed to her, put his hands on her shoulders. "But you need to understand what this means. They're not just coming for you anymore. They're coming for everyone you love. Everyone you care about. Anyone they can use as leverage. Then let me go. Give me a new identity. Send me somewhere they can't find. You think I haven't considered that?" His grip tightened. "You think I want you in danger? But the Giordano's won't stop. Even if you disappear, they'll hunt you just to hurt me. The only way you're safe is if they're eliminated completely. So eliminate them. I'm working on it." His jaw was tight. "But these things take time. Strategy. One wrong move and we start a war that kills hundreds of people." She pulled away from him, wrapped her arms around herself. "This is my fault. I should have just kept my mouth shut. If you'd kept your mouth shut, I'd be dead right now." He turned her to face him. "You saved my life, Arya. And yes, that put a target on your back. But I swear to you," his voice dropped, intense and fierce, "I will protect you. Whatever it takes. However long it takes. You're under my protection now, and nobody touches what's mine." The way he said mine sent heat through her chest. She shouldn't feel this. Shouldn't want this dangerous man to claim her. But God help her, she did. The moment stretched between them, heavy with things neither could say. Then Dominic's phone rang. He answered, listened, and his face went white. "When?" Pause. "Are you sure?" Pause. "I'm on my way." He hung up, looked at her with something close to panic. "What happened?" she asked. "The Giordano's just sent a message. They have your grandmother." Chapter 5. The world dropped out from under her. "No. You said she was safe. You said." They hit the convoy during transfer. Dominic was already moving, grabbing his jacket, his gun. "Killed 4 of my men. Took her." Arya couldn't breathe. The room spun. "Where is she? What do they want?" "You." He turned to face her, and she saw the guilt there. Raw and terrible. "They want you in exchange for her life." "Then give me to them." "Absolutely not. She's all I have left." Arya's voice cracked. "She raised me. Loved me. Taught me everything. I can't let her die because I saved your life. And I can't let you die because I failed to protect you." His hands framed her face, forcing her to look at him. "We're getting her back. Both of you. Alive. I promise." "How?" "I'm working on it." He was already on his phone, barking orders in Italian. Men were being mobilized. Weapons distributed. Locations identified. Arya stood in the center of his office and felt completely helpless. All her observation skills, all her careful attention to detail, meant nothing when her grandmother was being held by killers who wanted her dead. Lorenzo appeared in the doorway. "Boss. We found them. Warehouse in Red Hook. The Giordano's are using it as a staging ground." "How many men?" "At least 15. Maybe 20. Get everyone. Full assault team. I want overwhelming force." "Boss," Lorenzo hesitated. "It could be a trap. They know we'll come for the grandmother. They'll be ready." I don't care if they're ready. Dominic's voice was pure ice. They took what's mine. I'm taking it back. Arya grabbed his arm. Let me come with you. Absolutely not. She's my grandmother. I should be there. You should be here, safe, where I don't have to worry about losing you both. His expression softened slightly. Arya. Please. Trust me to handle this. I do trust you. She was crying now, couldn't stop. But I need to do something. I can't just sit here while she's... An idea hit her. Terrible. Dangerous. Maybe their only chance. Let me trade myself, she said. No. Listen to me. What if I wear a wire? Go in, make the exchange, and while they're focused on me, your men move in. They'll have their guard down because they got what they wanted. And they'll kill you the second they have you. Not if you move fast enough. She grabbed his jacket, desperate. Dominic, please. She's 83 years old. She has MS. She's terrified. I can't, her voice broke. I can't let her die scared and alone. He stared at her for a long moment. She could see him calculating, strategizing, hating every option. If I agree to this, he said slowly, you do exactly what I say. Exactly when I say it. No heroics. No improvising. You follow my instructions to the letter. I will. And you wear body armor under your clothes. A tracking device. A wire. You'll be monitored every second. Okay. And when I tell you to get down, you get down immediately. No questions. No hesitation. I promise. He pulled her close, pressed his forehead to hers. If anything happens to you? It won't. If it does, I'll burn their entire family to ash. She believed him. 20 minutes later, she was in a black SUV heading to Red Hook, wearing a bulletproof vest that felt too tight and an earpiece that let her hear Dominic's voice giving quiet instructions. We're 2 minutes behind you. When you go in, stall as long as possible. Ask to see your grandmother before making the exchange. Keep them talking. We need time to get into position. Okay. Her voice was steady even though her hands were shaking. Arya. His voice softened. You're the bravest person I've ever met. You know that? I'm terrified. That's what makes it brave. The warehouse loomed ahead. Dark. Empty-looking. But she knew better now. Knew how to see what others missed. And she saw the guards positioned on the roof. The vehicles hidden behind the building. The trap waiting to spring. She got out of the SUV, raised her hands to show she was unarmed. A man stepped out of the shadows. Tall, cruel face, expensive suit. This was a Giordano captain. Someone important. Arya Delgado. He smiled. We've been waiting for you. Where's my grandmother? Inside. Safe. For now. He gestured toward the warehouse door. Come. Let's make this exchange. She walked forward on legs that barely held her, into the darkness, toward the woman who'd raised her and the men who wanted her dead. And prayed that Dominic Calvetti was as good as he thought he was. Because if he wasn't, they were both about to die. The warehouse smelled like rust and old concrete. Arya's eyes adjusted to the dim light slowly. She counted 7 men visible, but her instincts, honed by weeks of observation, told her there were more. Hidden in the shadows. Waiting. In the center of the space, tied to a chair, was Nana Julia. Nana. Arya started forward. 3 guns swung toward her. She froze. Not yet, the Giordano captain said. His name was Enzo, she'd heard someone say. First, we talk. There's nothing to talk about. I'm here. Let her go. It's not that simple. Enzo circled her slowly, like a shark. See, Dominic Calvetti cost my family a lot of money when you warned him about the wine. Marco was expensive to place. Took us 2 years to get him into position. And you ruined everything in 30 seconds. In her ear, Dominic's voice was calm. Stall. We're 90 seconds out. I didn't know who Marco was working for, Aria said, forcing herself to meet Enzo's eyes. I just saw something wrong and reported it. In Sicilian. Enzo's smile was ugly. That's what really interests me. How does a little American nurse speak village Sicilian? The kind you can't learn in books? My grandmother taught me. Your grandmother. He walked to Nonna Giulia, grabbed her chin roughly. The old woman whimpered. This grandmother? The one who can barely hold her head up? Don't touch her. Aria surged forward. 2 men grabbed her arms, held her back. Or what? Enzo laughed. You'll observe me to death? Tell Calvetti I'm being mean? He pulled out a knife, held it to Nonna Giulia's throat. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell me everything you know about Calvetti's operation. His security. His weaknesses. His secrets. And if you lie even once, I start cutting pieces off your grandmother. Nonna Giulia's eyes met Aria's. Even terrified, even trembling, her grandmother's gaze was steady. Proud. And in perfect Sicilian, Nana whispered, non si diri niente. Sugno vecchia. Tu si giovane. Asterisk. Don't tell them anything. I'm old. You're young. Aria's throat closed. Her grandmother was telling her to let her die. 60 seconds, Dominic's voice said in her ear. Keep him talking. I don't know anything useful, Aria said, her voice shaking. I just observe. I don't understand the business. I don't know codes or accounts or... Liar. Enzo pressed the knife harder. A thin line of blood appeared on Nonna Giulia's neck. You saved Calvetti's life. That means you're valuable to him. And anything valuable to him is valuable to me. 30 seconds. I'll tell you everything, Aria blurted out. Just please. Move the knife. Let me see she's okay first. Enzo considered, then stepped back slightly. Talk. Dominic keeps his most important information in his office. 3rd floor. Behind a painting of his grandfather. The safe combination is... The explosion rocked the entire warehouse. The south wall blew inward, and suddenly there were men everywhere. Dominic's men, moving with military precision, cutting down the Giordano soldiers before they could react. Get down. Dominic's voice shouted in her ear. Aria dropped. The men holding her dropped too, but not by choice. They were dead before they hit the ground. Gunfire erupted. Deafening. Chaotic. She crawled toward her grandmother through the chaos, keeping low, while bullets turned the air above her into a death zone. Aria. Nonna Giulia's voice, terrified. I'm coming. She reached the chair, started working on the ropes. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely grip the knots. Then someone grabbed her hair, yanked her backward. Enzo. His face was bleeding from shrapnel, twisted with rage. You set me up. He raised his knife. A gunshot. Enzo's head snapped back. He dropped. Dominic stood 10 feet away, gun still raised, his eyes wild. Touch her again and I'll bring you back just to kill you twice. But Enzo was already dead. Dominic crossed to them in 3 strides, finished untying Nana Julia with quick, efficient movements. He lifted the old woman from the chair like she weighed nothing. Can you walk? He asked Arya. Yes. Then stay close to me. Don't stop moving. They ran for the blown-out wall while Dominic's men provided cover. Bodies littered the warehouse floor. Some moving, most not. The Giordano operation was being systematically eliminated. Outside, more SUVs waited. Dominic loaded Nana Julia into one, then turned to Arya. Are you hurt? No. I don't think so. She was covered in dust and other people's blood, but it wasn't hers. He pulled her close, buried his face in her hair. His whole body was shaking. Don't ever do that to me again. You told me to. I know what I told you. And I hated every second of it. He pulled back, cupped her face. When he put that knife to your grandmother's throat, I almost blew our cover just to kill him myself. But you didn't. You waited. You trusted me. I trusted you. I didn't trust them. His thumb brushed her cheek. Are you sure you're not hurt? I'm sure. She looked past him at the warehouse, where the last of the gunfire was dying down. Is it over? For tonight. His expression was grim. But we just declared war on the Giordano family. They'll retaliate. Then we'll be ready. He smiled slightly at the we. Yes. We will. Lorenzo appeared at the SUV door. Boss. We got all the targets. Enzo's dead. The others are neutralized. Buildings secure. Good. Burn it. Make sure there's nothing left to trace. Already on it. Dominic helped Arya into the SUV beside her grandmother. Nana Julia grabbed her hand, held on tight, whispered in Sicilian, *lu to patrisaria statu produtu. *. Your father would have been proud. Arya's eyes filled with tears. Ti veggio bene, Nana. I love you, grandmother. As they drove away, the warehouse behind them began to burn. Nana Julia slept for 16 hours straight. When she finally woke up, she was in Dominic's personal guest suite, with a private nurse monitoring her vitals and Arya sitting beside her bed. Where am I? Nana asked in Sicilian. Safe. Arya squeezed her hand. We're both safe. Her grandmother's eyes focused on something past Arya's shoulder. Dominic stood in the doorway, watching quietly. Nana switched to English. You. The dangerous man. Yes, ma'am. Dominic stepped into the room. I'm the dangerous man your granddaughter saved. And now you protect her? With my life. Nana studied him for a long moment. Then, in Sicilian, *si innamorata di ida. *. You're in love with her. Dominic's eyes widened slightly. He glanced at Arya, then back to Nana Julia. In the same dialect, he answered, *si. Ma ida non you sappy ancora. *. Yes. But she doesn't know it yet. Arya's heart stopped. She understood every word. I'm sitting right here, she said in English. I can hear you. Good, Nana said. Then you hear me say this, he is dangerous. His world is dangerous. But his eyes are honest. She looked at Dominic. You will keep her safe? Always. You will let her finish school? I've already arranged her schedule around security protocols. You will not make her do things that hurt her heart? Dominic's jaw tightened. I can't promise the world won't hurt her. But I can promise I'll stand between her and anything that tries. Nana nodded slowly. Then you have my blessing. Nana. Arya's face was burning. He hasn't asked for your blessing. He will. Her grandmother smiled. Men like him always ask properly. The nurse cleared her throat. She needs rest. Too much excitement isn't good for her condition. Arya kissed her grandmother's forehead, promised to return soon, and followed Dominic out of the room. In the hallway, she grabbed his arm. Did you mean it? What you said in there? Every word. You love me? I've loved you since you whispered in Sicilian and saved my life. He turned to face her fully. I've loved you every day you've sat in my meetings, observing my world, making it safer. I've loved you through every moment of fear, every second of watching you walk into that warehouse. His voice dropped. And I'll love you for the rest of my life if you'll let me. She should have been scared. Should have pulled away from this man and his violent world and his dangerous love. Instead, she kissed him. He responded immediately, hands tangling in her hair, pulling her close like he'd been waiting for permission. The kiss was desperate, hungry, full of all the fear they'd both been holding back. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, he pressed his forehead to hers. I need to finish this, he said quietly. The Giordanos. They're wounded, but not dead. As long as they exist, you're in danger. Then finish it. It might take time. Might get ugly. I'll wait. It might mean doing things you don't want to know about. Then don't tell me. She pulled back to look at him. You promised me I wouldn't have to see the violence. I'm holding you to that. But I trust you to do what needs to be done. You shouldn't trust me that easily. Probably not. She smiled slightly. But I'm still going to. He kissed her again, softer this time. A promise instead of desperation. Over the next 3 weeks, Dominic systematically dismantled the Giordano family's operations. Arya didn't see the violence. But she saw the results. The Giordano warehouses burned. Their businesses closed. Their allies disappeared. Their money dried up. And slowly, methodically, the family that had tried to kill Dominic and kidnap her grandmother ceased to exist as a threat. During those 3 weeks, Arya went to class. Studied for exams. Attended lectures with Lorenzo and Marcus trailing her like shadows. Her classmates stopped asking questions. Keisha stopped trying to understand. She was becoming someone else. Someone who belonged to a world that normal people didn't touch. And the terrifying part was that she was okay with it. At night, Dominic would find her in the apartment he'd given her. They'd sit on the couch, not touching, just existing in the same space. Sometimes he'd tell her about his day, the parts that didn't involve blood. Sometimes she'd tell him about anatomy class or the patient cases she was studying. Sometimes they'd just sit in silence, and that was enough. On day 22, Dominic came to her apartment at midnight. It's done, he said. The Giordanos? Gone. All of them. They can't hurt you anymore. She should have asked how. Should have demanded details. Instead, she just said, good. He crossed the room, knelt in front of where she sat on the couch. Pulled a small box from his pocket. Arya Delgado. I'm a dangerous man. My world is violent. My hands are stained with things I can't wash away. But you make me want to be better. You make me believe I can be more than what I've become. He opened the box. Inside was a ring, simple platinum band with a single emerald. Marry me. Let me protect you. Let me love you. Let me spend the rest of my life trying to deserve you. She stared at the ring. At him. At the impossible choice that wasn't really a choice at all. Yes, she whispered. He slid the ring onto her finger, pulled her down to him, and kissed her like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. They were married in a small ceremony at Dominic's estate in Westchester. Nonna Giulia was there, sitting in a wheelchair but smiling. Lorenzo stood as best man. A handful of Dominic's most trusted people attended. The priest asked no questions about the groom's profession. When Dominic kissed his bride, Arya tasted happiness for the first time in years. The reception was small. Elegant. Safe. Everything the past 2 months hadn't been. But halfway through dinner, one of Dominic's men approached and whispered something that made his expression harden. "What's wrong?" Arya asked. "Nothing that can't wait until tomorrow." Dominic. He sighed. Federal agents are asking questions. About the warehouse fire in Red Hook. About missing Giordano family members. They're building a case. Her stomach dropped. Against you? They've been trying to build a case against me for 5 years. This is nothing new. He took her hand. But it means we'll need to be careful. More security. Less visibility. Will they come after me? To get to you? They'll try. His grip tightened. But they won't succeed. I've got lawyers, judges, and enough money to make their investigation disappear into paperwork for the next decade. That's not how justice is supposed to work. No, he agreed. But it's how survival works. She should have been bothered by that. Should have pushed back against the casual corruption. But she'd chosen this world when she'd said yes to his proposal. And now she had to live with what that meant. The rest of the reception passed in a blur. Dancing. Cake. Toasts from people who congratulated them while carrying guns under their jackets. When they finally escaped to the suite Dominic had prepared, Arya collapsed on the bed. "This is insane," she said. "All of it." Having second thoughts? He sat beside her, started removing her shoes with gentle hands. "About marrying you?" "No." She sat up, cupped his face. "But about what comes next?" Terrified. "Me too." "You're never scared." "I'm always scared. I just hide it better." He kissed her palm. "But with you, I don't have to hide. You see everything anyway." She smiled. Terrible curse, isn't it? Marrying someone who notices everything. Best decision I ever made. They made love slowly, carefully, like they had all the time in the world. Like federal investigations and criminal empires and dangerous enemies didn't exist outside their door. For one night, they were just two people who'd found each other against impossible odds. In the morning, reality came crashing back. Lorenzo knocked at 6 a.m. "Boss. We have a problem. The feds raided 3 of our warehouses. They're moving faster than expected." Dominic was dressed and ready in minutes. "What did they find?" "Nothing. We cleaned them last week like you ordered. But they're escalating. Making moves. Then we escalate too." He kissed Arya quickly. "I need to handle this. Stay here with your grandmother. I'll call when it's safe." Dominic. But he was already gone, Lorenzo trailing behind him, and Arya was left alone in a suite that smelled like her wedding night and felt like a cage. She checked on Nonna Giulia, who was still sleeping. Paced the room. Tried to study but couldn't focus. Then her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. But something made her pick up. Mrs. Calvetti. A man's voice. Official. Cold. This is Special Agent Morrison, FBI. I need to speak with you about your husband's business activities. Her blood went cold. I don't know anything about his business. I think you do. You've been attending his meetings for 6 weeks. Observing. Taking notes. A pause. We've been watching you, Mrs. Calvetti. And we know you're more than just a wife. You're his intelligence analyst. Which makes you an accessory to his crimes. I want a lawyer. Smart. But before you lawyer up, let me make you an offer. Testify against your husband. Tell us what you've seen. Help us build our case. And we'll grant you immunity. Full protection. You can go back to your normal life. I'm not testifying against my husband. Even if it means prison time? Even if it means throwing away your nursing career? His voice was almost kind. Mrs. Calvetti. Aria. You're not like him. You're a good person caught in a bad situation. We can help you get out. I don't want out. You sure about that? Because once we arrest him, and we will arrest him, everyone associated with him goes down too. Including you. Including your grandmother. The threat was clear. Cooperate or lose everything. Don't contact me again, Aria said, and hung up. Her hands were shaking. The FBI knew about her. We're building a case. We're planning to use her against Dominic. She called him immediately. The FBI just contacted me, she said when he answered. They want me to testify against you. Silence. Then, what did you tell them? That I want a lawyer. That I'm not cooperating. Good. His voice was tight. Don't talk to them again. I'm sending my attorney. His name is Gerald Fisher. Whatever happens, you go through him. Understand? Dominic, they said they'd arrest me. Use my grandmother as leverage. They won't touch either of you. I promise. But she could hear the fear beneath his control. Stay where you are. I'm coming back. He returned within an hour, his face grim. We need to talk, he said. And Aria knew their honeymoon was over before it had really begun. Gerald Fisher was 60, silver-haired, and had the kind of calm that came from winning impossible cases. The FBI has been investigating Mr. Calvetti for 5 years, he explained, sitting across from them in Dominic's office. They've never found enough evidence to indict. But your involvement changes things, Mrs. Calvetti. You're new. Vulnerable. They think you're the weak link. I'm not weak, Aria said. I know. But they don't know that yet. Gerald folded his hands. Here's what's going to happen. They'll subpoena you to testify before a grand jury. They'll ask questions about Mr. Calvetti's business operations, his meetings, his associates. Anything you've observed. And if I refuse to answer? You can plead the fifth. Refuse to testify on grounds of self-incrimination. But that looks bad. Makes you seem guilty. What if I just tell the truth? Aria looked at Dominic. I observe people. I notice patterns. I don't know anything about criminal operations because I've never been told the details. That could work, Gerald said slowly. If you're careful. If you don't accidentally incriminate yourself or your husband. Dominic's jaw was tight. I don't want her anywhere near a grand jury. Neither do I. But if she's subpoenaed, she has to comply or face contempt charges. Gerald looked at Aria. The key is answering honestly without giving them ammunition. You observe. You report observations. You don't make decisions or participate in operations. You're a consultant, not a criminal. That's actually true, Arya said. Then that's the story we stick to. Over the next 2 weeks, Arya met with Gerald daily. They practiced questions and answers. Rehearsed how to respond to aggressive interrogation. Built a defense that was technically true while revealing nothing useful. Meanwhile, Dominic cleaned house. Anyone who could implicate him in criminal activity was relocated, paid off, or convinced to develop sudden amnesia. Records disappeared. Witnesses vanished. The empire was restructured into legitimate businesses with plausible deniability built into every layer. I'm going straight, Dominic told her one night. Or as straight as I can. Legitimate construction. Real estate development. Security consulting. Things the feds can't touch. Because of me? Because of us. He pulled her close. I want a future with you. Kids, maybe. A life that doesn't involve looking over our shoulders constantly. And that means changing. Can you really walk away from this world? I don't know. But I'm going to try. The grand jury subpoena arrived on day 16. Arya was ordered to testify in 3 days. She spent those 3 days studying with Gerald, memorizing her narrative, preparing for the fight of her life. When the day came, Dominic wanted to go with her. You can't, Gerald said. It looks like intimidation. She goes alone. So Arya walked into the federal courthouse alone, wearing a simple black suit, her wedding ring the only jewelry. The grand jury room was smaller than she'd expected. 23 people sitting in rows, watching her like she was a specimen under glass. The prosecutor was a woman in her 40s, sharp-eyed and aggressive. Mrs. Calvetti. Thank you for coming. I was subpoenaed. I didn't have a choice. A small smile. True. Let's begin. How long have you known your husband? 3 months. And in that time, have you observed his business operations? I've attended some meetings, yes. What was the nature of these meetings? Business discussions. Negotiations. Planning. What kind of business? Construction. Real estate. Security consulting. And nothing illegal? Arya met her eyes steadily. I'm not qualified to determine what's legal or illegal. I'm a nursing student, not a lawyer. But you observed. That's what Mr. Calvetti hired you for, correct? To observe his people and report what you saw? He asked me to attend meetings and share my impressions, yes. And what impressions did you share? That some people seemed nervous. Others seemed dishonest. Standard human behavior observations. Did you ever witness criminal activity? No. Did you ever hear discussions about criminal activity? No. Mrs. Calvetti. The prosecutor's voice hardened. We have evidence that your husband runs one of the largest criminal organizations on the eastern seaboard. And you're asking us to believe that in 3 months of working closely with him, you never saw anything illegal? I'm telling you what I observed. If you interpret those observations differently, that's not my responsibility. The questioning went on for 2 hours. Aggressive. Circular. Designed to trip her up. But Arya had spent 3 months observing liars. She knew how to tell the truth while revealing nothing. When it was finally over, Gerald met her outside. How'd it go? I have no idea. She was exhausted. Shaking. Did I help him or hurt him? You didn't give them anything they didn't already have. That's a win. Dominic was waiting at home. He pulled her into his arms the moment she walked through the door. Are you okay? Tired. But okay. She pulled back to look at him. Gerald says I didn't hurt the case. You were perfect. He kissed her forehead. I'm so proud of you. Don't be proud yet. They're not done with us. Maybe not. But they didn't break you. That's what matters. 2 weeks later, the indictment came down. Dominic Calvetti was charged with racketeering, money laundering, and conspiracy. Aria Calvetti was not charged with anything. They don't have enough on you, Gerald explained. Your testimony was too careful. You didn't give them what they needed. What happens now? Aria asked. Now we fight. And we win. The trial lasted 3 months. Aria sat in the courtroom every day, watching prosecutors try to destroy her husband. Watching Gerald systematically dismantle their case. Watching Dominic remain calm and controlled while his entire life was dissected in public. And in the end, on a cold December afternoon, the jury came back. Not guilty on all counts. 6 months after the trial, Aria walked across a stage in a cap and gown. Columbia University School of Nursing. Her diploma had her married name on it, Aria Delgado Calvetti, BSN. Dominic sat in the front row next to Nana Julia. Lorenzo and Marcus were somewhere in the back, watching for threats that didn't exist anymore. Gerald sat 3 rows behind them, smiling like a proud father. When her name was called, the entire section erupted in applause. Not because they knew who she was, but because Dominic had bought out 50 seats and filled them with his people, all instructed to cheer like she'd just won an Olympic gold medal. She couldn't stop smiling. After the ceremony, Dominic met her outside with flowers. I'm so proud of you, he said, pulling her close. I couldn't have done it without you. You would have found a way. You always do. Nana Julia appeared, pushed by her nurse. My brilliant granddaughter. A nurse. Your parents would have been so proud. I wish they could have seen this. They see. Nana tapped her heart. Always. They took photos. Aria in her cap and gown, flanked by her husband and grandmother, surrounded by security pretending to be normal people at a graduation. Later, at the celebration Dominic had arranged at a restaurant he owned, Aria found herself watching him across the room. He'd changed over the past 6 months. Was still dangerous, still capable of terrible things. But he'd also legitimized most of his business. Created distance between himself and the violence. Built something that resembled a normal life. For her. Because she'd asked him to. He caught her watching, crossed the room to her side. What are you thinking? He asked. That this is insane. All of it. Having regrets? Not even a little bit. He kissed her, right there in front of everyone, and she heard Nana laugh with delight. I have something for you, he said, pulling out an envelope. Inside was a deed. To a medical clinic in Brooklyn. Fully equipped. Staffed. Ready to open. What is this? Your clinic. You said you wanted to help people who couldn't afford good healthcare. Now you can. Dominic, she couldn't find words. This is too much. Nothing is too much for you. He cupped her face. You saved my life, Aria. More than once. Let me give you the means to save others. She kissed him, tears streaming down her face, overwhelmed by this dangerous man who'd built her a dream she'd never dared to speak aloud. The clinic opened 2 months later. Aria worked 3 days a week, treating patients who couldn't afford insurance. The rest of the time, she still attended Dominic's meetings. Still observed. Still noticed the patterns others missed. But now she was more than an observer. She was his partner. His equal. The woman who'd risen from invisible waitress to the power beside the throne. One evening, after a particularly long day at the clinic, she came home to find Dominic in the kitchen, attempting to cook. "This is new," she said, watching him struggle with a pan. "Claudette's teaching me. Says if I'm going to have a wife, I should know how to feed her." "How's it going?" "Terrible." He set down the spatula. "But I'm trying." She wrapped her arms around him from behind. "You're always trying. That's one of the things I love about you." He turned in her arms. "Say that again." "What?" "That you love me." "Say it again." "I love you, Dominic Calvetti. I love you so much it terrifies me." "Good." He kissed her softly. "Because I love you enough to burn the world down if anyone tried to take you from me." "That's deeply unhealthy." "Probably." He smiled. "But it's also true." They stood in the kitchen of the apartment they'd made a home, this criminal and this nurse, this man who'd killed and this woman who saved lives, and somehow it worked. 2 years later, Arya stood in that same kitchen, holding a pregnancy test with 2 pink lines. Dominic found her staring at it, tears streaming down her face. "Is that?" "Yes." He dropped to his knees, pressed his face against her stomach. "We're having a baby. Are you happy?" "Terrified. But yes. So happy." Their daughter was born on a spring morning. They named her Julia, after Nana, who held her great-granddaughter and cried with joy. Dominic held his daughter with the same careful attention he'd once reserved for loaded guns, and Arya watched the most dangerous man she knew transform into someone gentle. "What are you thinking?" she asked him one night, watching him rock Julia to sleep. "That I don't deserve this. You. Her. This life. You're right. You don't." She smiled. "But you're trying to. And that's enough." He looked at her, this woman who'd saved his life with a whispered warning in Sicilian, who'd stood beside him through trials and threats and transformations, who'd given him a daughter and a future he'd never dreamed possible. "Tamu," he said in Sicilian. "I love you." "Tamu puru," she answered. "I love you too." And in the nursery of their home, surrounded by the life they'd built from impossible circumstances, Arya Delgado Calvetti, former invisible waitress, now a nurse, wife, mother, and the woman who'd changed an empire with 7 whispered words, finally understood what victory looked like. It looked like this. Thank you for watching this story of courage, observation, and transformation. If this tale inspired you, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another powerful story. Drop a comment below sharing your thoughts. Your words inspire others and keep this community thriving. Remember, sometimes the quietest voice in the room is the one that saves everyone. Until next time, stay observant, stay brave, and never underestimate the power of speaking up when it matters most.